Hello and welcome to another episode of The Losers Win Again. I am your host, Jacob Brown, and we are back. Finally making some new videos for some fantasy football content, and we're here to cover all the strategies and things you need to know to prepare for the 2022 football season. And today we got an interesting topic that's been discussed for several years in the fantasy football community. Today we are here to talk about the scary and sometimes just not a good feeling in your stomach when you're doing this, but we're here to talk about the 3 running backs that can win your fantasy football leagues if you use the 0 RB strategy. But before we get into that, the summer of Bestball Drafting is underway. Get ahead of your league mates by getting an idea of what players are being ranked where as we get closer to opening day. You can join leagues on Draftkings, Underdog Fantasy, and Drafters to get ahead on the competition and win cash prizes in the millions. Or if you want to get your feet wet for beginners, there are 3 to 12 team leagues where you can draft for as little as $1. Come join the fun. It's going to last all summer long. So what exactly is 0 RB? The 0 RB term and strategy was originated back in 2013. The basis of the strategy is to take at most one running back in either the 5th round of the draft, or in some cases not to take any until at least the 8th round. The strategy has been talked about for a long time. It's a little scary. I mean, a lot of people feel comfortable with just drafting the RBs because that's what most content creators and most people giving advice on fantasy football will give you, is to take those RBs. Take Christian McCaffrey, take Jonathan Taylor, take Dalvin Cook, take those guys early in drafts, but this is the exact opposite. So let's go into further detail on why you should do this strategy. So why should you do the 0 RB strategy? At a time when the running back position is booming, why would we not take advantage and draft multiple in the first few rounds of our drafts, especially considering how deep the wide receiver position is perceived to be? The answer is not cut and dry, but it's not that complicated either. When the 0 RB strategy was first coined by Sean Siegel, the forefront of his argument was that running backs are far more fragile and have high bust rates compared to the other positions. The basis of the strategy then became to load up on wide receivers early with at least one QB or tight end in the first 5 rounds, then finding running backs with upside for high-scoring weeks without paying high draft capital. The ultimate goal is that by the end of the season, we are just as strong at running back as our league mates. The difference is we also have stud wide receivers and tight ends because we drafted top-tier guys early. We want to build a juggernaut. A successful 0 RB team will do this while assessing upside and unlocking a ceiling greater than that of other roster constructions. Drafting 3rd-round running backs who don't have elite running back ceilings won't allow our teams to reach their maximum potential. Basically, what all this means is wide receivers are more reliable in the early rounds of drafts when using the 0 RB strategy. Rounds 1 through 4 can get you 3 elite pass catchers and a stud QB, preferably, and a stack of a QB and one of his pass catchers if possible. While every draft is a risk, the 0 RB can be more calculated if done right. This seems more secure than taking 3 flyers on RBs from different teams with no correlation. Basically, I'm telling you, correlation is key in all of fantasy football and any type of fantasy football outlet. You want to have more correlation. Taking 3 receivers over running backs and then taking the quarterback to match up with one of those receivers is huge, because you're counting on those quarterbacks and those receivers to connect every single game that they're on the field together. While running backs, they can get in different game environments where instead of carrying the ball 23 times, they might carry it only 15 times. Instead of getting 2 catches to 5 catches, they might get no catches. I think the QB and wide receiver stack is more reliable in a whole outlook of a 18-week season. So, without further ado, let's get more into the numbers. The numbers don't lie. In a small sample size of research, what if I told you the top 5 fantasy wide receivers of 2021 averaged more fantasy points than the top 5 running backs? Let alone the top 10 wide receivers outscored running backs as well. The numbers don't lie, and which gives you more motivation to take this approach going into your drafts, making the zero RB strategy more reliable than what people think. And with that being said, I'm going to let you in on 3 running backs that will win your fantasy football leagues if you use the zero RB strategy. Now, the moment we all been waiting for. Here are the 3 running backs that can win your fantasy football leagues if you use the zero RB strategy. Number 1 on the list, Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. Dobbins had a pretty decent rookie campaign, averaging 11.2 fantasy points per game and ending the season giving fantasy owners high hopes by a 28-point outing. In 15 games, Dobbins was ranked the running back 22. Rushing touchdowns, he was ranked 16th with 9 rushing touchdowns. He was ranked 16th with 805 rushing yards. He had a juke rate of 30.9 that ranked 5th in the league, and an astounding 8.2 breakaway percentage that was ranked 1st in the NFL. Unfortunately, Dobbins had a season-ending injury in training camp last season, which has devalued his fantasy value and can be drafted anywhere between the 5th and 6th rounds of drafts. All signs point to him being a valuable asset in the Ravens' backfield as long as he stays healthy. Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said that running back Dobbins' knee is making progress, but will likely start training camp on the physically unable to perform list of PUP. Baltimore didn't have any notable offseason additions to their backfield, at least not yet, signaling that the Ravens are optimistic about Dobbins and should be ready to start the regular season. Dobbins is expected to be the team's primary running back this year, with Gus Edwards also mixing in. If Dobbins comes back to complete form, you best believe he's going to take you to first place in your fantasy leagues by using the zero RB strategy. The number 2 running back on the list that will win your fantasy football leagues if you use the zero RB strategy is Elijah Mitchell of the San Francisco 49ers. A lot like J.K. Dobbins, Elijah Mitchell had a stellar rookie season, averaging 15 fantasy points per game, having several double-digit performances in his 11 games played. He ranked 26th in total TDs with 6, and he ranked 8th with 963 rushing yards, which is the fun fact that he set the San Francisco 49ers franchise record in that category. While his breakaway percentage and juke rate were nothing to write home about, there is some underlying metrics. For starters, he averaged 4.7 yards per carry. He caught 19 balls out of 20 targets and averaged 6.85 yards per catch, with a total of 137 receiving yards. And while adding running back security this offseason, Elijah Mitchell still looks to be the lead back. He's been bulking up this offseason in order to try and stay healthy after dealing with knee, ribs, and concussion injuries and shoulder issues in 2021. San Francisco also has rookie Tyron Davis Price, Jeff Wilson Jr., Trey Sermon, and JaMychal Hasty in the backfield. Mitchell will certainly be the one to target in fantasy. Considering him healthy, majority of the season will win you your fantasy football leagues, finding him anywhere in drafts between the 5th and 7th rounds. If I were you, I'd be snagging him in those rounds using the zero RB strategy, because that will help you win your fantasy football leagues. The number 3 running back that will help you win your fantasy football leagues by using the 0 RB strategy is Chase Edmonds of the Miami Dolphins. Going into his 5th season in the NFL, Chase Edmonds finally has the lead role in the backfield. We've seen glimpses of what he could be, but now we finally will get a full season. As for last season, he had multiple double-digit fantasy point games. Playing in 12 games last season, he averaged 11.9 fantasy points per game. He was 43rd in the league in rushing touchdowns with 2. He was 37th in the league with 592 rushing yards, which was 5.1 yards per carry. He was 10th in the league in juke rate with a 29.6, and he was 10th in the league in breakaway percentage with a 6%. While some of his rushing statistics aren't too impressive, he's looked to be a dual threat back with upside in the pass catching department. Last season, he caught 43 out of 53 balls for 311 receiving yards. Edmonds' biggest hill to climb will be if he can find the end zone more often, as he only has 9 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving touchdowns, making him a total of 14 touchdowns on his 4-year career. Which, in his defense, he's finally going to get a full workload for a full season. So I definitely see these touchdown numbers going up. I see more opportunities, more touches, more receptions. I definitely see a bright future for Chase Edmonds, and his competition is not very good. The Dolphins have Myles Gaskins, Savon Ahmad, and Duke Johnson in their backfield for 2022. If healthy, Edmonds figures to take over the primary ball-carrying duties, which can make him more attractive as an RB2 with his new team. Being able to draft him in rounds 6 through 8, heck, I've even seen him go as late as round 10. Using this 0 RB approach could be the guy that helps you win your fantasy football leagues if you're using the 0 RB strategy. Here's a perfect example of how 0 RBs could work from my personal draft board on the Draftkings app. I took Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Mike Williams early on, along with correlating a stack with Justin Herbert and Mike Williams. This allowed me to get the Dobbins in the 5th round, Mitchell in the 6th, and Chase Edmonds in the 8th. In these later rounds, see high volume / ceiling receivers with correlation to their QBs, these RBs could give you more leverage on your opponents. In conclusion, I highly recommend taking the 0 RB approach. It's a way to get different with data to back it up. And furthermore, I feel like Dobbins, Mitchell, and Edmonds will win you your fantasy football leagues by using the 0 RB strategy. And there you have it for the Losers Win Again channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to see more content just like this on this channel. And don't forget, I have a Patreon where I issue a lot of this same content out on that platform for really low rates compared to our competition. Also, give me a follow on Instagram. The link is down in the description, along with my TikTok, where I'll be dropping short snippets of these videos daily. And as for now, I'm the Losers Win Again. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.